Hi, friends. So I'm just gonna be transparent with you guys as always. The last week was a real rough for me. Almost exactly a week of just being very off my center. I came into touch with some knowledge, some confirmation of knowings that I had or information that I had seen in the past, and just understanding like the dark plan, so to speak, more so. And so, the point of this video, what I would like to say is, it took me off my center. I had to do a lot of work to come back to myself because I want to be able to provide clarity and an avenue for you to do that as well, because we to heal the shadows, to heal the wounds, to get to the paradise ascension timeline. Well, we already on there, but to make it happen in the 3D, to take the actions to get us there, means we have to illuminate the shadows. That means seeing them. And so I want to explain why that is uncomfortable, like so difficult for some of us, and why it's a better job, so to speak, or why it's more aligned or operates and affects other people differently. What needs to be explained first is that we are in a war. And I don't mean that it's not something to be afraid of. We've already been here. But we are in more like the way Magenta Pixie explains it. This is more like a martial art war or like a samurai war. This isn't an army battlefield war, so to speak. But I'm going to use the war analogy because it fits with the explanation that I'm going to provide. So we are at war where these dark forces that have kind of been puppeteering a lot of our mainstream society for the past, more publicly for 50 years, but this has been going on. What I'm hearing right now is like 1,000. And so they have been using certain tactics to control us. And I was confronted last week with this information for like the second or third time, but in a way that took me off my center again. I intuitively knew these things. I knew the superficial aspect of this, but to see the actual depth was very difficult. And what the guidance had told me in my transmission, and I think the video is called Message for the People. I'll link it. I think it's here. I'll link it in the video. But they told me that the bumpiest part of our ride, of this ascension, of this spiritual battleground, will be when the exact phrase the guidance gave me was the spell of illusion is falls, and where people don't know to address their anger. And so I went through that on a personal level, and I'd like to provide basically a guide for those that will go through that, because that's what's going to be the next 6 months, because we have to illuminate the shadows for us to heal them. These things have to come to the light. I was giving a reading a few weeks ago, and the recipient of the reading, what she said was like, I didn't know there were so many like closet racists. I didn't know that this was going on. And my response was, it's better. I was like, we have to know that there are these extremists or these dark forces or these belief systems and paradigms that are incompatible with the success and the thriving of humanity. Without knowledge, without awareness, without seeing, we can't do anything about it. So this is what I'm going to come to is it's what brought me back to my center is realizing what my role is in this spiritual battleground. So all of us have a different purpose here. All of us have a different role. And I am not here to convert, to convince, to disseminate that type of information. That's not my job. I know that that information is there. I am acquainted with the battleground, so to speak. But my job is not to be on the front line. So I will not be disseminating that type of information in the same way in my videos, in my work. I will be mentioning it. I will be citing it. I will be acknowledging it, but that's not my job. And that doesn't mean I'm bypassing it. That's not what spiritual bypassing is. There's certain terms that are being thrown around in mainstream media, even in the self-help realm, that are meant to be divisive, that are meant to take you off your center, and that are not rooted in the expansiveness that is available to the collective consciousness or to the individual. Yes, spiritual bypassing is a problem. We can't just be like, oh, all love and light. But if you listen to the whole video, that's not what I'm saying either. We need to illuminate the shadows, but that's not my personal job. In my own world as Caroline, I have illuminated the shadows for myself. I have seen, I know, I have seen intimately, but there's other people that are more equipped to disseminate that information, to be on the front lines, to be in that role. And so what this goes into is, if you're uncomfortable looking at the shadows, at the darkness, you're not alone. And it's understandable. And I completely understand why you wouldn't want to see that, because when you really look behind, when you really peel back the curtain and see what's going on back there, it will rock your world. It will reframe what you have thought about your own life, about your decisions, about the choices you have made, about the options that you thought were limited to you, and what you have consumed for your entire life. And I mean that in all the ways of consumption. So one of the things that put me off center in the last week, when I had consumed this information and processing it, was that I wanted to grab every person and shake them and be like, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. I wanted to so badly. And I also felt trapped that it's not my job. And this was the internal conflict within myself of like, I just want to scream that these things are going on and people don't know. And that you are carrying on and literally getting distracted. So there is this, okay, I'll go back to that. And I wanted to scream and I wanted to shake everybody that I love and just be like, wake the fuck up. Like, we have to do something. And so what brought me back to my center is coming into myself and really acknowledging what my role is. And so why is my role not on the front lines? Why is my role not that? So my role is not to convert, to convince, to disseminate that type of information, to be on the front line of the spiritual war, so to speak, because I am a crystalline. Just as there are different pieces on a chessboard that operate different roles, I am in a different role than the people that are on the front line. And so those light workers, those star seeds, those healers, those truthers that are on the front line of this spiritual war, the ones that you're seeing the face, the ones that are disseminating the information, those people are more likely the indigo generation. And so what is an indigo? So what has been said, and this has been said I heard about indigos maybe like 20 years ago, 15, 20 years ago. But for the last 30 to 50 years, star seeds have started to incarnate. So what they said is the first generation of those were the indigos. So the indigos are more of that warrior, come in to break the old paradigm so we can rebuild. So they're the ones that are actually like smashing like your ideas of your ideas that have been implanted by the dark. They're the ones that are putting stuff in your face. They're the ones that are on the front line. So the indigo warrior is a different energy, and it's very important. And so indigos tend to be like, there's no age range, and you can operate within the indigo space and the other generations I'm about to mention, but that those that are in that space that they feel they have to do something and they can't settle until they do, you probably are more likely an indigo. If you feel the need to stand up for social justice, to take action, to be heard, to be seen, to organize these things, if your battle cry is more of we have to do something, you're more likely an indigo. And that's great because we need you. We need you to do those things. And like, I especially need the indigos because that isn't my role. So the second generation that came in, so for the indigos, the years can be, there can be indigos that are even as old as like in your 60s and 70s. That would be like basically kind of like the few star seeds that were sort of trickled in. And then the generation became more and more condensed, and probably like those born in like the late 70s into the 80s, and then into even some of the 90s, probably like part of the 90s. From what I understand, from what the guidance has told me, is I'm on the older end of the crystallines. I'm one of the oldest crystallines, like probably full crystalline. At least that's the way I feel. And so the indigos are probably like somewhere between the 70s and into like the mid 90s, maybe like the late 90s. The crystallines would be as early as maybe the mid 80s into like the early 2000s. So that would be the generation of crystallines. The crystallines, which was explained to me by the guidance, and I'll find Magenta Pixie has a video where she briefly talks about this, but what the crystallines are here to do is, like a crystal, we are here to embody that healing energy and reflect what is needed back. So like a mirror, when people come to me, I see that shadow, I see the crack within them, and I embody what needs to be reflected back for them to heal. So to me, my role is not as much of action as it is to embody. So for me to stay in my center, to be able to embody this love space, this unconditional love, this unity mindset, this higher frequency, so to speak, is important, because what we embody becomes available to the collective consciousness. So I'm not alone. This isn't spiritual bypassing. This isn't me pretending I don't see. This isn't me not acknowledging. That's not what it is. But I am better suited. I can sustainably do that work. That is what I am designed for. And there are other crystallines out here. That doesn't mean if you feel like you are completely like wasted, you are completely drained by looking at the dark plan, you can't look at it without it really unbalancing you, taking you off your center. We have to understand what is going on, because awareness is power. Part of the reason that this dark plague, so to speak, this dark energy, this dark cloud, this dark plan has been able to be so prolific for so long is because they have taken passivity as consent. The information of what is happening in the background is available. For those with eyes to see, you can find the information and you can find the truth. So because the information is there, because the steps to get yourself out of the matrix, so to speak, or to red pill yourself is available to all, they are taking passivity as consent. So for my fellow crystallines and for the next generation, which would be the rainbow children, we have to see, because passivity equals consent. So this is not spiritual bypassing. This isn't like, I'm just love and light and I'm ignoring it. Like these things don't exist. Like that's not what it is. You create your own reality. I understand that my sphere, these things are not in my sphere because I embody a different energy. So that's different. So, but I cannot sustainably, the way I am wired, the way I am structured, I am not designed to do the indigo role. I'm not designed to be on the forefront, disseminating information, being the face. That's not my job. My job is to embody. My job is to give the newly awakened or the newly woken up or the people that are interested, the people that have gifts and talents and that need guidance. I'm here to provide safe guidance. That's what my job. I'm here to spread my wings, to give you shelter so you can go back out into the world and do what you need to do. That's my job. Just like a chess piece, like I said, has different pieces with different roles. My role is different than a different chess piece. The same way as an army, a spiritual army, a light army. There are generals, there are people on the forefront, there are people in the background, there are nurses, there are cooks, there are a whole bunch of different roles in the spiritual army. Mine is different than someone that's on the forefront. So for those of you that are having a difficult time absorbing what is happening, you may be a crystalline. That may not be your job to be the one screaming in the megaphone, "This is what's happening, wake up your eyes." That might not be your job. Your job might be something different. Your job might be giving shelter to those that feel lost. Your job might be embodying love. Maybe your job is to make your workplace a place of light for your workers. Your job may be to provide safety and sanctuary for your children. Like, your job may be something different. And just because it's not like a million followers and you yelling into the microphone about all of the shit that's going on in the background doesn't mean that your role is any less important or valuable. We need those people that are taking care of like the average person, so to speak. Like, we need those people that are taking care of your own community, because who else is going to do it? So this video is really, it's to understand your job. And so I was talking with a friend who was feeling guilty that she didn't feel empowered stepping forward into that indigo role, so to speak, that warrior. This doesn't mean that the crystallines are not warriors. It's a different type of warrior. This is not the battlefield we're standing on is not it's not like a real battleground. It's more like a chess game. And so just because you're not one of those people in the forefront, taking down the dark pieces, does not mean that your role in the background or your role within your community is any less important or less of a warrior. So that's important. We're all stepping into our warrior frequency. That's what's being presented and provided for us from the astrology, from the time, from the fact that our intuitions are all ringing the alarms that something is not quite right. So we all are presented with the opportunity to step into that warrior space, even if my warrior aspect does not look the same as an indigo warrior aspect. Not any less valuable, not any less important, just different because different roles are needed at this time. Anyways, so I was talking with this friend and she was feeling this guilt that she didn't want to, or she couldn't step into that role in that same way. She didn't feel like an empowered space, just as I didn't. And I explained to her the difference between the indigos and the crystalline. My job is different. And she is also a healer with her hands. And so for her to continue to provide healing, for her to continue to do the work out of her hands, I just got chills, for her to be able to embody that healing energy and give it to her people so they can go out and continue to provide light into their circles, her role is different. It's not the same. Her being there spouting or feeling disempowered because she feels like she should convert people because she knows these things and other people don't know them, doesn't empower her, and it doesn't allow her to honor her gift and do her job, to do her role, to do her part, to be the chess piece in this game that she is in. So it's so important. I want to provide that to you because it's difficult to know that there's so much going on and to feel like you're not doing enough. And so it's not that you're not doing enough. It's not that you're doing the wrong thing, but maybe you're trying to put yourself in the chess piece that you are not. Maybe you're trying to be a rook when actually you're a knight, or maybe you're trying to be a pawn when you're actually I don't remember all of them. A bishop. Thank you. And so, so maybe it's not that it's maybe not that you are disempowered. It's maybe not that you are weak. It's maybe not that you are not capable. it might be that you're trying to do a role that isn't empowering to you, that doesn't serve you, that isn't aligned with the way you are wired as an individual, as your individual starseed mission. So that's important. The third generation, which I don't know as much about because they're young, and like way younger than me, because I am at the beginning of my generation of crystallines. And so the rainbow children now, those are some special people. Not that the indigos and the crystallines are not, but the rainbow children. So by rainbow, what it means is they can embody these different colored frequencies. So like what I've heard magenta pixie say is like the magenta rays and the blue rays and the violet rays and all of that. So they'll embody a particular energy, but it's almost like they're a mash of the indigo and the crystalline, but in a different way. They're not here to break. They're here to just walk forward. So basically it's like, if you're not going to do it, whatever, I'm just still going to. So these little children are very aware, very sensitive, extremely energetically sensitive. So if you have a child that's a child right now, somewhere between like 4 and like 10 will probably be the older end of the spectrum, maybe even some teenagers. There's definitely I know a few teens that are rainbow children, but they don't know it. And then it gets difficult because they're so sensitive. And then depending on their environment, it's very easy to fall into things like substance abuse because they are so sensitive and they're feeling so much. And without the proper tools and the proper understanding of themselves, it's very difficult. Especially a lot of these rainbow children, this will be the backlash later. A lot of these rainbow children have been put under medication. In terms of like Adderall, which is basically a prescribed methamphetamine. And so that is going to be the fight for them towards the end of this. And like, depends how long this shadow period, this bridge, so to speak, goes through, because eventually it will come into the light, and like the things of like prescribing Adderall to the rainbow children to keep down their senses, to dull their perspective, and to conform them, basically. The children that are hyperactive, it's not that they're hyperactive, it's that the environment in which they have been forced to grow is not aligned with them. These children are wild. These children are baby Tarzans. Like, they need to be in nature. They need to be with the elements. They need to be able to explore. They need creativity. They are not suited to be put behind a screen and just told to be quiet. They can do it, but that's also part of the reason of why they have this excess energy. It's also part of the food. They're far more sensitive. And part of that is our human DNA crying to be realigned and recalibrated back to its natural essence. Simple is better for the body. And that is especially true for the rainbow children. So as these rainbow children grow into adulthood, they will need structure. They will need guidance. And that's part of what the crystallines and the indigos, that's what we're creating for them to be able to live in that type of reality. And so that's why it's so important. And they will be the inspiration for a lot of these parent indigos and parent crystallines to continue to fight the good fight, so to speak, to not give up when the shadow gets heavy, because we're not through the woods. We have some very difficult astrology coming up. Right now it's July 22nd, 2020. And in the fall of 2020, we have some very explosive astrology coming up. These dark forces are using the universal energies to plan their attack, so to speak, to plan their chess moves. Everything is very designed. Everything is very calculated down to the minute, almost, like, for real. And so basically that's what's going on. So the point of that, and some people are rainbow children now, or you can be a mix of like crystalline and rainbow, or you can be like a magenta indigo crystalline. Like, you can be that. Like, it's not this is energetics, these are harmonics. This is not a cut and dry. This isn't the I want to say masculine energy, but that's not quite right. It's not that organized of like the indigos start here and then the crystallines start here and like here's the line. Like, that's not what it is. It's all very fuzzy. And you can go in and out of embodying those different energies throughout your life. Some of us will be more suited to one or the other. or you will feel more comfortable in embodying a certain frequency more than others, just because of your design, just because of your soul purpose here. And so this isn't to say that you can't have all or both or whatever, or shift. But we usually will find a more comfortable home, so to speak. So, the whole point of this is to say that we need to see what's going on. But what you do with it, your role in the light army, in the light movement, may not be the same as someone else's. That doesn't make it any less valuable. That doesn't mean you're not doing your part. That doesn't mean that you're not contributing. Those that are behind the scenes, so to speak, those that are maybe just operating within their community, just as important as those that are on the big scale. The quantity of people you are affecting is not as important as the work you are doing, because as we can understand in energetics, these things ripple out. I gave an example in one of the last videos of, I told a friend of a friend from Hawaii, I'm from California, about the type of journaling I was teaching at the time. She told her other friend in Hawaii, and then they told someone else, and then they took off. And I never even met these people, and they were doing the type of journaling processing that I was doing at the time. So the quantity of people that you affect is not as important as the quality of the work you are doing, because the energy that you are providing, the service to others mindset, ripples out. You don't have to be affecting 100 million followers on Instagram to make an impact. And that's important because it comes down to the individual. We have to be aware of what is going on because they have been taking passivity as consent. So the awareness is power, because you are not being passive in consenting to things that are not aligned with you because you don't see it. So that's important. So passivity has been taken as consent. So it's important to have the awareness, what you do with it, and how you take action, and how you basically contribute to the movement, to the light, to this spiritual chess game, is what feels in alignment for you. And the way someone else is doing it doesn't mean that's the right thing for you. And so that's the whole point of this, is if you're not an indigo warrior, if you're not here to like break shit, but you're here to embody love and to provide that just to your community and to give that safe space of light to someone, that's perfect. If you're here to break shit and to tell everybody and to scream from a mountaintop and to wake people up, that's great too, because we need those too. We need all of it. Everybody's just as important. The nurses that take care of the soldiers are just as important as the people on the front line. The cooks that feed the soldiers, that feed the warriors, just as important as the generals. And so that's what we need to see, is we are a team moving forward in this. Everybody has an important mission and role that is aligned with their divine purpose, and it doesn't have to look like anyone else's. And if it doesn't look like someone else's, it doesn't mean that it's wrong, and it doesn't mean that it's less valuable. So whatever you feel is aligned for you to contribute to the light movement, to the truth movement, that's what you're supposed to be doing. And I'm just here to provide support for that. So I will be continuing to create pockets of light for people to come to recharge, to fill up, to reorient, to recenter, so they can go out and do whatever their role is in the best way that serves them. So that's my job. So that helped me reorient myself, because I was feeling, when I really saw everything again, and had a lot of confirmation of the downloads I was getting about a year ago, about a year ago now. I was taken off center because I felt I needed to do more, or I needed to do something different, or in my anger and outrage, I wanted to do something, but that's not my job, and that's not what feels aligned for me. It's not coming from an empowered place within me to operate in that way. But that's not the same for all. So it's important that we can go within and see what we're here to contribute to the world. Other people's battle cry is wake up. My battle cry is you're not alone. That I see you and I know you're out there, and I'm creating light spaces for you to be able to recharge so you can go back out into the world, because there's still more to do. So thank you so much. I'm extremely grateful for the support and for everything. And so once again, my name is Caroline from Carousel. Be well, my friends. Take care of yourselves, and I will be with you soon.